Whatever drove Javon Belcher to kill the mother of his child drove him here in remorse. As police started to arrive, Belcher started walking away, fell to his knees, and ended his life.
He is kneeling on the floor next to her body. His mother is standing in the doorway. She cannot move. She cannot breathe. In the next room, a baby girl 3 months old begins to cry. The man on the floor is whispering, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry." Then he leans forward and kisses her on the head. Then he stands up, walks out the front door, gets into his car, and drives away. The woman on the floor is Cassandra Perkins. She is 22 years old. She has been shot 9 times. The man who just drove away is Javon Belcher. He is 25 years old, 228 pounds, and one of the starting linebackers for the Kansas City Chiefs, a franchise worth over $1 billion, playing in one of the most watched sports leagues on earth. He has 14 minutes left to live. What you just witnessed is not the end of this story. It is barely the middle. Because the real question, the one that still haunts everyone who knew him, is not what Javon Belcher did on that Saturday morning. The real question is, who was Javon Belcher before that morning? And what exactly happened to him? Stay with me, because by the time we are done here, you will not have a clean answer. But you will have the truth. And sometimes, the truth is the most unsettling thing of all. In 14 minutes, 2 coaches will watch one of their players put a gun to his own head. One of them will never fully recover from what he sees. If you are here for the first time, help me show that these stories matter by subscribing to this channel. Now let's continue. West Babylon, New York. A working-class suburb on the south shore of Long Island, about 40 miles east of Manhattan. Not the kind of place that produces NFL players. But Javon Belcher is not the kind of player that West Babylon usually produces, either. He is born on August 24, 1987, to John Belcher and Cheryl Shepard. He grows up in a home where hard work is the only language anyone speaks. His mother, Cheryl, will later describe him as the kind of son a parent dreams of: attentive, driven, fiercely protective of the people he loves. At West Babylon High School, Belcher is a 2-sport force of nature. On the wrestling mat, he becomes a 3-time All-American. On the football field, he plays linebacker, offensive tackle, nose guard, and fullback. He is the team captain. He leads West Babylon to 2 Long Island Championship playoff appearances. College scouts notice, but not enough. Javon Belcher is, by every measurable standard, slightly too small, slightly too slow. In the brutal math of college football recruiting, those fractions matter. The powerhouse programs pass. He ends up at the University of Maine. Not Ohio State. Not Alabama. Maine. To most people, that would feel like a door closing. To Javon Belcher, it feels like a dare. At Maine, Belcher starts all 45 games he plays. Every single one. He becomes a legend in a program not known for producing legends. His college coach, Jack Cosgrove, will later call him a tremendous student athlete. The kind of phrase coaches use when they mean something deeper than statistics. And Belcher is serious about the student part. He is studying child development and family relations. He is part of a campus organization called Male Athletes Against Violence. He gives speeches to kids back in West Babylon every summer. He is, by every account, exactly the kind of young man that people point to and say, "This one made it." Then comes the 2009 NFL draft. His name is never called. Not in the first round. Not in the 7th. Not at all. Javon Belcher goes undrafted. Most players, that is the end. They go home. They get a job. They watch other people live their dream on Sunday afternoons. Javon Belcher gets a phone call from the Kansas City Chiefs. A tryout. A rookie free agent deal. The very bottom rung of the ladder. He takes it, and he starts climbing. By 2012, he will be a starter earning nearly $2 million a year. He will have a daughter he calls his greatest achievement. And he will be slowly coming apart in ways no one around him can see. By his 2nd NFL season, Javon Belcher is a starter. By his 3rd, he is starting all 16 games. He is recording more tackles each year, winning over teammates, earning a reputation as one of the hardest workers in the building. Teammate after teammate will later describe the same version of him. Warm, generous, funny. The guy who remembered everyone's birthday, who showed up early and left late, who took undrafted rookies under his wing because he knew exactly what it felt like to be one. His friend and fellow player Aaron Langford would later say, he was one of everyone's favorite teammates. Jovan was the kind of guy who could light up a locker room just by walking into it. In March 2012, the Chiefs re-sign him to a one-year contract worth $1.97 million. Jovan Belcher, the kid who was told he was too small and too slow and too obscure, is a millionaire. To celebrate, he buys a Bentley. List price, $122,000. He cannot stop smiling. Around this same time, something else happens. Something that Belcher himself will call the best thing that has ever happened to him. Cassandra Perkins tells him she is pregnant. Cassandra Michelle Perkins is 22 years old. She is originally from Austin, Texas, and she came into Belcher's life through a connection that could only happen in the tight-knit world of professional football. She is the first cousin of Chiefs running back Jamal Charles's wife. She is described by everyone who knows her as radiant, full of warmth, dedicated to her community, active in the Chiefs women's organization, a natural caregiver who volunteers her time and brings light into rooms. She and Jovan are not without their complications. They argue. All couples argue. But when their daughter, Zoe, is born in September 2012, something in Jovan shifts. His friend CJ Walters will remember the night. We went out, we bought big old pink teddy bears, flowers. Jovan kept saying, "This is my baby. This is my baby girl." He couldn't have been happier. Cheryl Shepard, Jovan's mother, moves from New York to Kansas City to help the couple with the baby. She adores Cassandra. Cassandra adores her. In another version of this story, that family is still together right now. But the 2012 Kansas City Chiefs season is collapsing around them. And something in Jovan Belcher is collapsing along with it. Something invisible, something medical, something nobody in that organization wants to talk about. The 2012 Kansas City Chiefs are, by every measure, a disaster. Their offense ranks 31st in the league. Their defense ranks 25th. They open with 2 losses, stun the New Orleans Saints in Week 3, then lose 6 straight games. In that climate, losing, underpaid relative to what he should be earning, with a new baby and a strained relationship at home, Jovan Belcher begins showing signs that those who study brain trauma would now recognize immediately. He starts drinking more heavily. His friends notice the mood swings. Not dramatic explosions, but a slow, grinding unpredictability. He becomes harder to reach. He and Cassandra argue with increasing frequency, primarily over money and the pressures of a new baby. Shortly after Zoe's 2nd month, Cassandra and the baby move out briefly to stay with a relative. Belcher's mother calls him, worried. He asks her to come to Kansas City. Something in his voice tells her she should not say no. What nobody, not Cheryl, not Cassandra, not his teammates, not his coaches, knows yet, is that Jovan Belcher's brain is in the process of being destroyed. CT, chronic traumatic encephalopathy. It is a neurodegenerative disease triggered by repeated blows to the head. Not just the concussions that make headlines, but the small subconcussive hits that happen on every single play of every single game across an entire career. You cannot diagnose CTE in a living person. It can only be confirmed after death, when neuropathologists look at brain tissue under a microscope and find what they are looking for: neurofibrillary tangles of tau protein, choking off the neural pathways that control memory, judgment, impulse, and emotion. In 2014, a year after his death, Jovan Belcher's body is exhumed. His brain is examined by Dr. Piotr Kozlowski, a neuropathologist. The findings are devastating. The tangles are found throughout Belcher's hippocampus, the region of the brain most critical to memory, learning, and emotional regulation. Dr. Kozlowski's report concludes that the findings are fully consistent with the pathological presentation of chronic traumatic encephalopathy. Jovan Belcher was 25 years old. He had been playing organized tackle football since he was a teenager. His brain, at 25, looked like the brain of a man who had spent decades in combat. And here is the detail that should stop your blood cold. According to the Kansas City Chiefs, Jovan Belcher had no documented history of concussions. No documented history, which means either nobody was looking, or somebody was choosing not to see. The lawsuit filed by Belcher's mother will allege that team management knew something was wrong, and that instead of helping him, they called him an accident and threatened his job. The night before everything falls apart begins, as so many catastrophes do, with something ordinary. Cassandra Perkins goes to a concert. Trey Songz, performing at the Midland Theater in downtown Kansas City. She leaves at 1 a.m. When she returns home, she and Jovan argue. The details of the argument are not fully known, but it is not their first, and the pressure has been building for weeks. The losing season, the money tension, the exhaustion of new parenthood, whatever is happening inside Belcher's deteriorating brain. After the argument, Cassandra leaves again. She goes to the Power and Light District, an entertainment area near the Midland. And here is the detail that will complicate everything that comes after. Jovan Belcher is also in the Power and Light District that night with another woman. When he loses track of the woman in the crowd, he drives to her apartment. She is not home. Police receive a 911 call about a suspicious person in a car parked on Armour Boulevard. They find Belcher there at 2:50 in the morning, asleep at the wheel of his running car. His blood alcohol content, later confirmed by autopsy, is 0.17, more than twice the legal limit. But when officers wake him, his demeanor is calm. He is coherent. He does not smell of alcohol, at least not to the officer's nose. They let him go with a warning, direct him to a nearby apartment to sleep it off. In the morning, there will be questions about this moment. Should the officers have done more? Should they have arrested him? Could a night in jail, a single intervention, have changed what came next? We will never know. What we know is this: Jovan Belcher drives home. He arrives at the house on Chrysler Avenue sometime in the early morning hours. He and Cassandra begin arguing again. Cheryl Shepard, his mother, is in the house. Zoe, 3 months old, is in the next room. What happens in the next few minutes will define every life in that house, and several lives beyond it for the rest of time. At 7:51 a.m., a 911 call is placed. The woman calling says her daughter has been shot. Police will spend several minutes confused about who she is, because the woman calling is not Cassandra's mother. It is Jovan's. The argument escalates. At some point, Jovan Belcher retrieves a gun. He fires 9 times. Cassandra Perkins is shot in the neck, the chest, the abdomen, the hip, the back, the leg, and the hand. She does not die immediately. She is taken to the hospital, where she will be pronounced dead. Cheryl Shepard hears the gunshots. She runs to the bedroom door. What she sees, her son, kneeling over the woman he has just shot, saying he is sorry, is something she will carry for the rest of her life. Jovan kisses Cassandra. He kisses Zoe. He kisses his mother. Then he gets in his car. He knows where he is going. Romeo Crennel is the head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs. He is a large, steady, deeply experienced football man. He has seen most things this league can throw at a person. He has not seen this. Scott Pioli is the general manager. He built this team. He selected Jovan Belcher off the undrafted free agent pile in 2009. He has watched this young man grow from a long shot into a starter. When Belcher's car pulls into the parking lot, both men are there. What happens next is documented in police reports and eyewitness accounts, and it is almost impossible to process as something that actually occurred in the real world. Jovan Belcher thanks them. He thanks Romeo Crennel and Scott Pioli for the opportunity to play in the National Football League. He asks them to take care of his daughter. He asks them to take care of Zoe. Police are arriving. Officers are on scene, weapons drawn. They are telling Belcher to put down the gun. He walks to a nearby area near the practice facility. He kneels down, and then he shoots himself in the right temple. Romeo Crennel watches this happen. He will coach the game the following day because that is what the league decides. He will stand on the sideline while 70,000 people cheer. He will later speak of that period in a voice that sounds like a man describing a dream he cannot shake. The next morning, the Kansas City Chiefs play the Carolina Panthers. The NFL decides the show must go on. Cassandra Perkins is dead. Jovan Belcher is dead. and Zoe, 3 months old, is an orphan. One day after the murder-suicide, the Kansas City Chiefs take the field against the Carolina Panthers. The decision is made in consultation between the league office, head coach Romeo Crennel, and team captains. In the pre-game shows that weekend, the silence is deafening. Network after network treats the tragedy as a commercial break, an unfortunate interruption to the football calendar. NBC is the rare exception. Most programs barely mention it, and when they do, there is one name they consistently leave out. Cassandra Perkins. She is 22 years old. She has done nothing wrong. She leaves behind a 3-month-old daughter who will grow up without a mother or a father. And in the week that follows, she will be discussed primarily as a footnote to the story of the man who killed her. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell will make the Super Bowl media rounds the following month. Jovan Belcher's name will not come up once. The league moves on. It is very good at moving on. Jovan Belcher's teammates are left to process something that the league will not officially help them process. They take to Twitter. They cry in locker rooms. They play through it because that is the only option available to them. Jeff Allen, a Kansas City offensive lineman, writes, "I am devastated and heartbroken. Always show love and never be afraid to talk." Tony Moiki, a tight end, tweets, "One of everyone's favorite teammates." These are young men who are also, in many cases, sustaining the same kind of brain trauma that is now being linked to what happened in that house on Chrysler Avenue. Nobody talks about that either. Then comes the lawsuit, and with it, revelations that will force an entire industry to confront the question it has been running from for years. Cheryl Shepard, Jovan Belcher's mother, files a wrongful death lawsuit against the Kansas City Chiefs. The lawsuit is not primarily about money. Cheryl Shepard's attorney will say this explicitly. She wants to go to trial. She wants discovery. She wants to know, under oath, what the organization knew about her son's condition and what they chose to do about it. The allegations in the lawsuit are extraordinary. The complaint states that in the months leading up to Belcher's death, the Chiefs were aware of symptoms and signs of cognitive and neuropsychiatric impairment, that the team micromanaged virtually every aspect of Belcher's physical performance, his diet, his speed, his body composition, while completely disregarding evidence of his neurological deterioration. The lawsuit further alleges that General Manager Scott Pioli and other members of team management engaged in systematic mental abuse to pressure Belcher to play through his injuries. According to the complaint, Pioli repeatedly told Belcher, and I am quoting from the legal filing here, that he was just an accident and they would get rid of him. Think about what that means. A young man whose brain is breaking down, who is already carrying the weight of a losing season, a strained relationship, and a new baby. And the man who runs his organization is telling him he is disposable. An accident. The complaint argues that the Chief's constant bullying pressure, combined with his occupational neurological impairments, caused or contributed to Belcher's mental unraveling. The NFL, around this same time, is in the middle of settling a class action lawsuit brought by over 4,500 former players regarding concussion negligence. The settlement, $765 million, includes a provision that indemnifies the league against future class action suits. It also ensures that the NFL's own internal research on the effects of head trauma will never be subject to public discovery. Cheryl Shepard opts out. She wants the discovery process. She wants the truth on the record. She wants someone, somewhere, to say out loud what everyone in football already knows but has collectively agreed to leave unsaid. Then come the results from the brain examination, and the medical finding that changes everything we think we know about what happened in that house. 1 year after Jovan Belcher's death, his body is exhumed from the North Babylon Cemetery on Long Island. His brain tissue is sent to a neuropathologist in New York. The examination is requested by lawyers representing Zoe Belcher, his daughter, the orphan, the person with perhaps the most at stake in understanding what actually happened to her father. Dr. Piotr Kozlowski prepares the report. What he finds is this: neurofibrillary tangles of tau protein distributed throughout 7 sections of Belcher's hippocampus. The hippocampus, the seahorse-shaped structure that governs memory, emotional response, and impulse control. Tau protein in a healthy brain helps stabilize neural pathways. In a brain that has sustained repeated trauma, Tau can spill out of cells and tangle around neural connections, slowly choking off the brain's ability to regulate emotion, recall consequences, and make rational decisions. CNN later has an outside neuropathologist independently validate the findings. The conclusion: the results are consistent with CTE, and they are deeply concerning given Belcher's age. This is not the brain of an old man. This is the brain of a 25-year-old. And the damage is pervasive. Dr. Kozlowski's report concludes, the microscopic findings of neurofibrillary tangles in a young person are fully consistent with the pathological presentation of chronic traumatic encephalopathy, as it is reported in the available medical literature. He joins a list of former NFL players confirmed to have had CTE. Junior So, who shot himself at 53. Dave Durson, who shot himself at 50, leaving a note asking that his brain be donated to science. Mike Webster, the Hall of Fame center, who died of a heart attack at 50, having spent his final years in cognitive collapse. Aaron Hernandez, Andre Waters, and dozens of others. Jovan Belcher is 25. The disease that killed Junior So in his 50s, the disease that ends careers and lives and families, was already building in Jovan Belcher before he was old enough to rent a car without a surcharge. And here is what this means, what it forces us to sit with. CTE is not a punishment for doing something wrong. It is not a consequence of character failure. It is a disease. Progresses. It warps the very machinery of thought and feeling. It does not announce itself. It does not ask permission. The symptoms of CTE include depression, poor impulse control, and violent mood swings. Read that again. Depression, poor impulse control, violent mood swings. Now think about what we know about the final weeks of Jovan Belcher's life. Does CTE explain what Jovan Belcher did? No, nothing explains it. But it changes the question we are asking. And changing the question changes everything. We need to stop. In stories like this one, stories dominated by the dramatic arc of a famous man, the victim often disappears. She becomes a detail, a footnote, the tragedy that happened before the main tragedy. Cassandra Michelle Perkins was not a footnote. She was 22 years old. She was from Austin, Texas. She was funny and warm and full of life by every account of everyone who knew her. She volunteered with the Chiefs Women's Organization. She was devoted to her community. She was devoted to her daughter. She came to Kansas City because of love. She stayed because she was building something. A family, a life, a future. She had plans. She had people who loved her. She had a daughter who needed her. Cassandra Perkins did not deserve what happened to her. Full stop. Whatever was happening in Jovan Belcher's brain, whatever pressure he was under, whatever the NFL did or did not do, none of it explains, justifies, or mitigates what was taken from Cassandra Perkins on the morning of December 1st, 2012. She was 22 years old. She had her whole life in front of her. And her name deserves to be said clearly and first and often. Zoe Belcher is now a young teenager. She grew up without either of her parents. She is the reason the brain study was conducted. She is the reason the lawsuit exists. She is, in many ways, the only living monument to both of the people she lost on that morning. There is a custody fight in the years after the murder-suicide, as the families of Belcher and Perkins negotiate over who will raise her. The details are not fully public. What is public is that Zoe exists, that she is alive and growing, and that she is the person with the most right to answers that, even now, are not fully available. And yet, the NFL moved on. The Chiefs moved on. The season continued. The conversation the country needed to have, it chose not to have, until it couldn't avoid it anymore. The story of Jovan Belcher does not exist in isolation. It is one point on a line that has been drawing itself, clearly, for decades. A line that the National Football League has spent enormous resources trying not to follow to its conclusion. In August 2013, more than 4,500 former NFL players settled their concussion class action lawsuit for $765 million. The deal shields the league from future class actions. It ensures that the NFL's internal research, years of data about what the league knew and when, stays out of public discovery. The players who settle cannot pursue the questions Cheryl Shepard is pursuing. She wants to know, What did the Kansas City Chiefs know about her son's neurological condition? What did they see? What did they ignore? When their coaches and trainers and medical staff saw a young man deteriorating, showing the kind of mood swings and erratic behavior that CTE produces, what did they do? The complaint alleges the answer is, they pressured him to play. They called him an accident. They managed his weight and his diet and his speed with extraordinary precision, while declining to manage the thing that was actually killing him. By 2014, when Belcher's CTE findings are released, the NFL is deep in its Ray Rice crisis. The Adrian Peterson child abuse case is dominating headlines. For a brief, extraordinary moment, the American sports media is willing to have a real conversation about violence, brain damage, and the culture of professional football. But the moment passes. It always passes. The Chiefs have since rebuilt. They have won multiple Super Bowls. Patrick Mahomes is arguably the greatest quarterback of his generation. Arrowhead Stadium roars every Sunday. And Jovan Belcher's name is spoken only rarely, and almost always in the context of what he did, rather than what was done to him. That is not an argument for forgiveness. It is not a defense. It is an observation about how institutions protect themselves, and about who gets to be remembered as a full human being and who gets reduced to their worst moment. But there is one question that still has no answer. One question that may be the most important of all. Here is what we know. Jovan Belcher was a young man who, by the testimony of everyone who loved him, was kind. He was generous. He was the kind of person who drove back to Long Island every year to give motivational speeches to high school kids. He was part of an organization at the University of Maine called Male Athletes Against Violence. He shot Cassandra Perkins 9 times. He had a brain that was being destroyed by a disease he did not know he had, in a sport that generates billions of dollars in revenue, operated by a league that has spent decades downplaying the connection between its product and that disease. He was being bullied, according to court filings, by the general manager of his team. He was drunk. He had been awake all night. He was 25 years old. And none of it, should have ended with Cassandra Perkins dying on the floor of the bedroom she shared with him while their baby cried in the next room. So where does that leave us? There is a version of this story that makes Jovan Belcher a monster. Pure and simple. He did a monstrous thing. There is no walking that back. There is another version of this story that makes him a victim, of a sport, of an institution, of a disease, who became a perpetrator. And in that version, the real villains are wearing suits and sitting in boardrooms. The uncomfortable truth is that both versions are true at the same time. Because monsters are not born. They are made. And sometimes the making of them is so gradual, so institutional, so invisible, happening in the microscopic spaces between one hit and the next, that by the time anyone can see it clearly, it is already too late. Jovan Belcher thanked his coaches before he died. Think about that. His last words to the people who ran his professional life were words of gratitude. What does that tell you about the kind of person he was? What does it tell you about the kind of hold that institution had on him? Cassandra Perkins never got to say her last words to anyone. She did not get a final scene. She did not get to kiss her daughter goodbye. She was 22 years old, and she had her whole life ahead of her, and it was taken from her in a matter of seconds by a man she had chosen to build that life with. Zoe Belcher is growing up without a mother or a father. She is the living, breathing remainder of this story, the person who will have to carry it forever, who will have to decide what it means, who will have to find some way to live inside the wreckage of a morning she was too young to understand. The NFL will play this Sunday, and the Sunday after that, and the Sunday after that. Arrowhead Stadium will sell out. The crowd will roar, and somewhere in all of that noise, 2 names will go unspoken. Cassandra and Jovan, not because their story doesn't matter, but because the machine that produced it, the machine that shattered both of their lives, has a very powerful incentive to keep moving forward and never, ever look back.